Hey there. We've been trying to reach you regarding your car's extended warranty. In all seriousness though, while this place may be very lit now, it's still not completely safe. Hence the hidey hovel I have here. We may have the land, but what we really need is a home. A place you can close the door behind you and cozy up by the fire on those long winter nights. So, with me being Canadian, and the holidays being right around the corner, I figured it would only be right to make a cozy winter cabin. So at the beginning of this project, I knew that I wasn't going to have enough glass and brick to be able to complete this, so I actually went around desecrating a few beaches around the world to get the sand and the clay that I needed to make the glass and brick that we would need for this project. Now, when it comes to my mindset for actually building this, I always like having buildings that conform to their surrounding landscape, something that looks like it couldn't just exist anywhere, something that looks like it exists specifically for there. So my idea here was I was going to make like an L-shaped kind of cabin that would have like multiple different elevation levels that were relative to the ground that it was under. So it'd be like elevated a little bit off the ground, but still pretty close to the ground-ish. And when it comes to a lot of building projects, I oftentimes have a hard time visualizing what the final building is going to be. I kind of just build a lot of the time and see what happens, but it doesn't hurt to have a starting point sometimes. Something that I can make first and then base the rest of the build off of that. So I wasn't actually sure how I initially wanted to make this, so I actually took to YouTube initially, and I looked at a few different cozy cabin designs of some rooms from the inside. And I found this one really interesting one from the channel Gameplay Captures, so I decided to make that room first and foremost. I was gonna make that room because it seemed hella cozy and nice with this fireplace and the beams going across seemed like a very nice cozy cabin kind of space. And then from there I would build off of that and make something that fits to this surrounding landscape. You'll also notice that I experimented with like a moving camera kind of style here, which was a bit easier said than done. I tried in the background doing like a crazy command block setup to get this working, and it like sort of worked, but clearly not as intended. There's our little Zombo friend that wanted to see what was going on, but unfortunately he didn't quite get to make it to the in-progress cabin, or in-progress room, you could say. It's just a room right now. But I was having some technical difficulties with the moving camera, so from this point onward, I gave up on the moving camera. We might potentially have a moving camera for some future builds, by chance, but I'd have to wait for like the appropriate mods for that to come out. So until then, we're just gonna have the changing camera shots like this. I really like this design with like the beams going across where it looks like they're helping to support it from the inside. So it doesn't just feel like, you know, a big square from the inside. It actually feels like there are these beams that are helping support the place. And lamps are something that are new since the last time that I played this game. I'm not quite familiar with them, but I can tell you right now, they're like my new addiction. Throughout the course of this project, I wound up spending quite a large amount of my iron to make lamps, because they are really, really beautiful. From the inside here, rather than making a solid wall, I elected for this design with the stairs to also give it like a more 3D kind of look, not have completely flat walls. Have it look like there's kind of supports going across and bits where the walls in and out like that. Of course, from the backside here, you're going to see that it's going to look like a solid wall, being the backside of the stairs, but it is what it is. So now that we had like our starting room essentially done, now it was time to start branching out and building the rest of this place. How can we build off of that starting point and make something interesting? So this room was just going to be down like one block. It's not going to be down super far. So it's going to be very close to the same elevation as the adjacent room, but one down. So to accommodate for that, I wound up making this little platform to easily go in and out like that. And I also thought, wait a second, this would be a perfect area for a potential basement, because I don't want to limit myself to space here either. I want to have the option to expand later down the line if need be. And the easiest way to expand a house in Minecraft, in my opinion, is downward. Just hollow out some more area and make some space down there. So I didn't actually want to complete the basement yet for this build, because this would take a decent while, and right now I was just concerned about like getting shelter at the ready. So I just hollowed out like a general space for what it would roughly be, and figured that I'd come back to it later. And as you can see, I boarded it up. So yeah, same kind of dimensions as the other room, but this is now one block down to match a little bit better with the elevation that's going on here. I did like the beam kind of style in the other room with the wooden logs going across, so I decided to use it for this room as well. and attach some lanterns for those. I couldn't quite attach a lantern on the left there because I worried that, you know, I might wind up running into it if I'm going into the other room. So I figured just one lantern in this room would be good enough. Now, I actually left this open before for a couple of reasons. One is so I could actually jump in, because the way to navigate through here is a little bit tricky and weird. And two was I wasn't sure if I wanted that to be a wall or a window like the other side, but I eventually decided on it being a window. As for this other room, I decided that this one would have a bit more stone than the other room. Like a super cozy room with a fireplace would be almost completely like wood and logs, but this room would have a little bit of cobble to it, have like a little bit of a stone finish for these windows at least. Show that it's developed in a bit of a different way. Now, this was what I had to go through every time I wanted to come back in here. The pain of trying to jump onto the roof over and over again, and failing a few times just to come in through the incomplete roof, because I didn't actually have a proper way up here yet. So this is what I was going to start working on after this wall was complete, where I elected for that same kind of stair design and the same 2x2 opening to be able to get through. And now I could finally start working on the entrance room, the lowest down room, and the thing that would complete our L formation here. Now, for this, I figured, okay, maybe I should actually put like some walls here for the basement, maybe make it look like there's some other supports. I would rest up from time to time to set it to day, because working during the night isn't always the best. Now, when it came to the stairs over here on the way down, that's the thing that I wound up second guessing myself on a whole lot. I built out these beams. I wanted this to be a much lower level. I didn't notice until later that the right beam was actually one block lower. That's something I wind up fixing later. And I knew that if this was going to lead into there, I would need to have that at least be up higher. But before I could worry about that, I was out of wood. I thought I had enough wood at the beginning of this project. I did not have anywhere near enough wood, so it was a very good thing that I planted those spruce saplings at the end of the last episode, because I absolutely needed that. And it seemed like this project was getting a bit more ambitious than I had anticipated, which is part of the reason why it's its own episode. I originally planned on this being part of the first episode as well, but considering how much time this took and how ambitious it wound up being, it made more sense for it to be its own episode like this. So I wound up planting more spruce saplings, even more than last time, because I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna need a decent bit of spruce here. So I hoped I had enough at this point, but I wasn't quite sure whether I did. Now, at first I thought like maybe it'll just be this section that's higher with this little balcony bit, and the roof could like come down forwards. But eventually, after thinking about it a decent bit and how strange that would look both from like the inside and outside, I eventually decided to extend out this level to just be generally higher than the other ones. It'll be the one reaching lowest to the ground. And this room will have like 2 elevation levels in and of itself, but with that balcony over there and the actual ground level itself. Now, I would occasionally have some visitors that came to see me. I believe they would spawn from the nearby caves and like wander their way out. I set up a small placeholder super smelter setup there because I quite liked the one that I set up in the cabin over at the Hivenvine Island, where you could just put in your ore and coal and forget about it, and it would reach down to the basement floor, the storage floor, essentially. I had a lot of snow there, so you can see me throwing away the snowballs from time to time. I had a double chest nearly full to the brim with snowballs. But yeah, I figured down the line I would make that basement into a bit of a storage area, and that's where the super smelter chests from up above on the main level could lead into. Maybe it's something I'd change later, but it sounded like a cool idea for now. So as you can see, I had like a bit of a weird amalgamation for a while when it came to deciding on how I was going to form these stairs. But I eventually decided on this design that went around like this, so it still gave you like plenty of floor space on the actual bottom floor by curving around like this, and still having like a decent bit of little balcony space here, so you can come out there onto the little balcony and greet any guests that are coming in and say, like, come on up and come enjoy some time by the campfire. My inventory was getting very full there, so I couldn't pick up the snowballs a lot of the time. I decided, like, this is still gonna be like a spruce wood flooring. This is gonna be like a very, very wooden cabin out here in the snow drifts, in the snowy land, in what's basically the land of Canada, essentially. I did want to have a little bit of a porch for a little bit of this, you know, opening area, essentially. Make a nice entrance that way. I like doing this kind of stair setup to make it look like it had a little bit more depth, and this is where I would add another window as well. And for a little bit more of a 3D effect, I would add these stairs that jutted out a little bit, so it looks like the stone is helping support it more. So I wanted to have, like, a lot more wood on the upper levels, but the lower levels would be like a little bit of a mix of stone and wood. So it looks like the base foundation of this cabin is like stone and wood, but up above for the second level, essentially, it would be completely wood, was my idea behind this at least. So I applied a lot more cobblestone to the walls of the bottom floor of this opening room as such to make it look like this was what was helping support the overall building. I would continue running out of stairs a decent bit and keep on needing to run into the other room to either reset it to day like that or craft other kind of blocks that I needed, whether it be stone stairs, slabs, or whatever have you. But I also started thinking, like, this opening area over here is pretty empty then, if this is what I'm going for. So I had the idea, what if I extended this out? We have like another beam like that with some lanterns, and I extend a kind of loft of sorts, because we didn't actually have like a guest room set up. So what if we just had like a little ladder up to a nice cozy little loft that if a guest is by, this is where they could stay. It could be like a nice little loft space right at the front. Their own tiny little loft here. I thought it could be a nice little cozy addition that also helps fill the space here, makes it feel less empty, essentially. Now, because I'd be running out of materials every once in a while, I would sometimes have to run over to the nearby caves and get some more cobblestone or run to the nearby trees and get some more wood. I did take a while deciding how I wanted this to be set up. I had to go get some of the furnaces that were smelting brick and glass up until this point and put them there, because I didn't really have the cobblestone to spare to, make any new furnaces. And I wasn't 100% certain how I wanted the guest area to be designed, and this wouldn't even be the final design. For the roof there, I wanted to have the stair kind of look there, so it looks like it's kind of curving up into that higher bit. But I eventually decided that for this little guest space, it was a bit too flat, and the whole opening space there itself was a bit too flat. So I thought, what if it actually jutted out at least one block, like it comes out there a little bit, gives the guest space a little bit more life to it, and gives the cabin itself a bit more of a 3D feel. But once again, before I could think too much about that, I was once again out of wood. So it was a good thing that I planted a whole lot of spruce saplings once again. Way more than before. This actually took a decent while to log, and I also had to go into the nearby caves to get more cobblestone. If I wind up showing the nearby caves, there's just like a big square gaping hole of just me harvesting cobblestone over and over again to be able to work on this build. So, yeah, definitely did a decent bit of damage to the nearby cave there, the one that I actually fell through the snow of during the first episode. But once I had these trees logged, I felt like, okay, this is probably now finally enough wood to actually finish off this project, I hoped. So I was able to get back to work on this loft again, and I was trying to figure out, like, how exactly do I want the front of this to be designed? This is our entrance, after all. It's gotta be very welcoming. It's gotta feel very warm and welcoming and feel like a very nice, cozy cabin. So I went for the lantern look there again, because I'm addicted to lanterns. They're like one of my new favorite things, and I'm losing a lot of my iron because of it, but it's worth it because they're beautiful. And I eventually started settling on designing something like this, where it's like the pillars are coming out a little bit, and they're supported up by those fences there. So it juts out, but like realistically in a sense. And I figured if these were going to look like solid walls from the other side anyway, then I may as well have them be stairs from this side to give it that little bit more of depth, essentially. Feel a little bit more rustic, you know? And this would be where the window would go, and this would be like a much more welcoming and cozy guest space. This is a place where I'd want to be, you know? I did have to actually run over to get my glass though, because that was another thing that I was running out of sometimes, so it was a good thing that some of that was smelting up. So that is where the window would be, and now there's a lot more space to be working with this guest area here. Once I finally settled on the design like that, this was now a nice, cozy little loft, essentially, for a guest to be in. So I decided that these on the either side would also be windows, and eventually decide that it'd be cool to have a beam going across here as well. Really make this place look like it's really supported up by these wooden beams that I was really digging into how much wood I had. I wasn't 100% certain on the window design at first, but I eventually decided, okay, yeah, I will just wind up settling with this. I did have to do some snow shoveling inside, considering all the snowing that had been going on since starting this. And now finally I could start getting to work on the chimney and the roof. The chimney had to go up a couple more blocks, because I wanted the chimney to be noticeably higher than where I was going to put the roof. This wasn't going to be like a very steep roof, Even though a steep roof would probably make a lot of sense in a snowy area to make sure that, like, you know, the snow slides off and isn't weighing down your roof. But this isn't a fancy place. This is just a humble little home. So it's going to be like a very thin roof was my mindset. I thought that something else that might help add some personality to the front might be some window boxes. So I went ahead and added those and grabbed some of the flowers that we had down in the valley there, which is just a whole bunch of red and yellow flowers, and decided to fill these in as window boxes. Now, building in survival is very different than building in creative, which is where I would have, you know, done a lot more practice when it comes to building back in the day. So I had to do like a whole bunch of dirt poles, as you'd see there earlier. And this was going to be, as I was mentioning before, a very thin roof. So I was going to use this slab design to make like a very simple, humble roof, essentially, going across for this nice, cozy cabin. Nothing too fancy, just a nice, cozy cabin, essentially. So I continued putting these slabs across the end of the roof and slowly filling it in with what spruce I had left, which, once again, I figured should be enough to get me through the rest of this project. And I figured if the roof was coming over here, maybe I would open this up a little bit so that if you're inside this room here, this middle room, you can look up and see kind of the roof curving around, like make it feel a little bit more spacious, you know? I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do that for the other room with the fire yet, but it's something that I figured, hey, I'll try it sometime later if I want to. I would have to jump down sometimes to reset it today, and then do this jump across to get back to working on the roof. So slowly filling things in here, I decided to fill this area in across, and then I would jump over to the other side here to actually decide how the solid wall was going to be formed. How would I give it a little bit of personality? So I decided to add like a couple more wooden struts there to help look like it's supporting it, essentially. I continuously would run out of slabs. I didn't make enough of them, so I'd have to go to the crafting table sometimes to craft some more spruce slabs. And now the chimney needed to be a decent bit higher. I wanted to make it higher than that, but I didn't actually have the brick to do so yet. It was still smelting up. So that's something that I would come back to later. For now, I would add some personality over here, make it look like it's being supported up a decent bit better. Just like that. So I could finally go back up to the roof and start working on the roof over on this side. So for this roof, I could have easily just had it continue sloping the way that it was from over there. Just look like the roof extends out farther that way. And that was kind of what my initial plan was with the overhang that I had there. But I eventually changed my mind and decided that I was going to have this sloping the other way relative to the larger building over there. This did present a complication because it meant I couldn't have an overhang over on the left side because I worried about it getting in the way of the nice massive window next to the cozy campfire. So it overhangs a decent bit over the right side, but not the left side, just for the sake of the view. But I figured that wouldn't be that big of a deal. It is what it is, I figured. But this did mean that I had to take out the little temporary overhang that I had there before, which also meant that the lantern there had to go, as I figured out exactly how I was forming this. Now, in this little hole here, I wasn't quite sure how I wanted this designed. I figured it would be nice to have some form of light in there. Thought maybe solid glass blocks, but I wasn't quite certain with that. So eventually I just filled it with stairs and was like, okay, now it looks like there's little divots into the front there where a couple lanterns are situated for light. I fixed the front that I had messed up there, and now the front had finally been properly completed, it felt like. It felt like a nice, cozy entrance. Finishing off the porch here, I put some supports there and put some fences around the outside after the stairs, it seems like. Neared our way down, after all. And then this would make our porch setup here for a nice cozy little porch. While we're not working on the basement quite yet, it would be nice to have solid walls, I figure, so I would just temporarily set up the walls here. So that even though the basement is wholly incomplete for now, at least it's like a very safe place that we don't have to worry about anybody sneaking in from the side. We could have like the whole outside finish and don't have to worry about any uninvited guests sneaking in through the little hole that we have. So I also wanted to give some more depth to the outside here because it still felt very flat. So I used stairs for the most part. Later I would use a combination of stairs and slabs to see what I could do to add some depth and a little bit more personality to these very flat sides that we had here. I also took the time to take out some of the dirt blocks, which is what the spruce trees were on initially, and replace them with snow blocks considering how much snow I had gotten throughout this project. I'll probably replace some of them with dirt blocks again to plant some selective spruce trees in locations that I'd actually want them, but for now, we're just making it solid snow. Here's where I figured the half slabs might be an interesting idea for adding a little bit more personality to the overhangs, make them look more like real overhangs. And I thought that upside down stairs could add to that even more, but for a tiny little window like that one, it probably wasn't too worth it. For the bigger windows, I would do this upside down stair design to make it look like it's holding up the little overhang there. So I could finally start lighting up the outside with some lanterns rather than some torches, because lanterns look way better, and absolutely destroyed my iron supply in the process, but it was very much worth it. And we finally had the whole place lit, except for the roof. Monsters can't actually spawn on stairs or slabs if you make that into your roof, but they can still spawn on solid blocks. And the roof had a decent bit of solid blocks on the top. So, as ugly as it is, I did have to put torches on the roof, which really sucks. I'd very much like to replace this with something else later. Maybe I can trade with somebody who's gone to the nether for some glowstone and replace some of the wood there with glowstone to make it look like the roof itself is what's giving off some illumination. Because I love the look of actually having a solid wooden roof that's coated with snow in the wintertime. And with that, the cozy cabin was finally complete. It did a very good job of very much fitting into the space that it was designed for, what with the hills and the multiple levels, and I'm really happy with how the final product turned out. Even though it might look a little bit more like a cozy ski lodge than a cozy cabin, it still seems like a merry place to be all the same, whether it be for enjoying the holidays, enjoying a nice cozy winter day by the campfire, or even doing a series where we work towards becoming masters of chemistry as we are in this world. As we come in through the porch here, we see the opening area with its little inside balcony. You go up the stairs and see the guest loft there, a nice cozy place to be if anybody's staying by. I haven't quite decided on what we're going to do with this room yet, but I'll figure it out sometime down the line. And finally, here's where I'm staying, where I can stay cozy by the fire during these cold winter days. Okay, well, the cozy cabin is done. I'm going to be honest with you, it's actually the next day right now. After I was done building this, I kind of just went and passed the hail out and whatnot. But we have the place built, we have our shelter, we have our cozy cabin over here. So, Kirby was blown up by a creeper, apparently. I transferred over all the stuff that was in these chests into the indoor chests, just in that one space that I don't know what to do with yet. The Smyrnuses that I had set up over here have been moved inside as well. A couple for the guest room and a couple for the super smelter thingamabob. Since it seems to be getting dark, should probably head inside. You already saw like a little bit of a tour from the, bird's eye camera and whatnot, but I can do one here like this as well. I'm running out of melons. The next thing is definitely going to be sorting out the food situation. We have our cute little guest loft here, looking like this. Is quite nice. I'd like staying here as a guest and whatnot. Up and around we go into this space. So this, I'll do proper storage for this stuff later, but here's all my crap right now. Here's a couple of the furnaces. There's like 2 more and stuff. The basement needs some work. Yeah, it's not done yet, and it is possible that I might potentially extend this like underground so that it's possible to go and do like mining related stuff without needing to go outside. I'll probably make a dedicated mine shaft out around somewhere anyway, but it wouldn't be a half bad idea to have something down here as well as have some storage down here and whatnot. Go ahead and have that. So this is what it looks like from the inside with the roof here. So I guess that was something that didn't get to be properly shown before. Part of me is honestly debating about like moving these 1 block up, maybe. Like just having this room feel like it's like the elevated ceiling room or something like that. Maybe I'll think about it. I'll definitely have a big think about that. And I added some leaves here, which is also like from the design that this was inspired from for this room. There was leaves here, and I thought that looked really cool. So I was like, you know what? I got some spruce leaves with my shears way earlier anyway. Let's just put them up there. I might potentially add some other decorative stuff in here later, maybe, but oh, the place, and I opened this up a little bit. So these are upside down stairs here, and then these are slabs. So I opened it up a little smidge there. This is what I did. That was the plan. And then here's the bed, and we can sleep on through this night. And but I actually don't want to sleep through the night. The night is so relaxing and cool. It'd be nicer if it was snowing right now. That'd be really neato. Yeah, we finally have a proper base of operations that we can operate out of without having to worry about being interrupted by monsters when we're planning stuff out here. So, like, very soon here, we can actually start having a proper look at this land and deciding what it is we want to do with it. But yeah, it'll be fun to look around and see, you know, exactly where we want to be putting stuff. There's a lot of verticality to work with here, so I'm sure there'll be, like, a lot of different layers. Much like ogres and onions, this place has layers, it seems like. I'm not quite sure yet where we're going to be putting, like, our first farm. That's something I'll figure out before next time. Definitely not in the snowy area. That's, snowy area is just going to be for the cabin, unless I can figure out anything else snowy related that should go in the snowy area, apart from maybe some taiga trees. When we do eventually establish a mine, I was thinking about it maybe being over here, or something like that. There's a lot of ore around here. Part of me is tempted to just whip out the pickaxe and start mining it right now, but I think we'll wait on that front. Oh, it's raining! Oh! So I can now properly show off the house being the cozy cabin, being the way that it is with the rain. Also, I think that there's like a patch here that's withered savanna that doesn't get rain. Yeah, I'm fairly certain it is here. Like, is that a bee? I was about to say I'm fairly certain that I don't hear any stuff here. Is that tree floating? Whoa, 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 wait. I don't remember cutting that. Is this a generation bug? Or, it looks kind of like a generation bug, is what it honestly looks like. Or, no, would this have been the main thingamabob? Did somebody start chopping this without, like, any regard for, you know, the surroundings and stuff? Also, where'd that bee go? Why is there a bee here? Well, it must have been a generation glitch, because there shouldn't be anybody else around here, so I guess I'll just go ahead and take this out so that's not, you know, the weird thing that it is on the side of the mountain here. Go ahead and finish the job that Minecraft itself refused to finish. Let's get inside to where we've got a fire waiting to warm us up. I noticed that during the time lapse I said campfire a couple times when, you know, the block itself is a campfire, but, you know, if it's inside at a fireplace, I don't I don't think that constitutes the term campfire, but whatever. I also called these lamps instead of lanterns a few times. I noticed, but whatever. It is what it is. There is one more thing that I would like to do before we wrap things up. As you may know, it's the holidays, so I figured in festive holiday fashion from the Hive and Vine Island over there, I actually wound up yoinking some wheat and some of the cocoa beans that we had out there. So I figured, whoa, oh, you can make brown dye now out of cocoa beans. I wonder, has that been a thing forever and I just never realized it because I'm silly? Anyway, in proper fashion, we don't have any milk. We don't have any cows or anything. I should have grabbed some milk while I was over there. Oh well, I'm sure it's fine without any milk. So, just in case you wind up having a special visitor tonight, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and leave some cookies by the chimney. So with that, thank you so much for stopping by for another episode of Peculiar Potions, and until next time, happy holidays. Ho, 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 oh, oh, ho, ho, oh my, naughty, oh, those cookies, oh, naughty, cold, naughty,